Hi, my name is Keith Cooper, Northlight Images. This is an Epson EcoTank ET-8550 that's just turned up, and I'm just going to do this short video about setting it up. Now we'll have a detailed review in due course, and obviously a much more detailed review on the Northlight Images website where I do the written reviews. And I would say if you're new to these reviews, I'll try and cover stuff, interesting and useful stuff in the videos, but the detail always goes into the written reviews, because then I can correct it, amend it, add extra bits in a way that you can't with video. So if you're looking for technical details, have a look at the written material as well as the video. Anyway, here's the box turned up. This is the first printer I've ever looked at with ink bottles rather than the normal cartridges. Now let's get it out of this. We have a plastic bag of some sort, a set of instructions, and a disc. Software disk. I guarantee that'll be a Windows software disk. I run Macs for everything, so I have a large stack of these which don't do anything. And let's take out some of the packing. One mains plug. And the interesting bit, or the different bit for these, there are the ink bottles. Now these have 70 ml of ink per bottle. That's quite a bit of ink. Although I should say for my large format printers, I'm used to using 220, 330, even 700 milliliter bottles of ink. So yes, these are interesting large bottles of ink, proportionally compared to other larger printers. But anyway, we'll be installing those in a bit, once I've moved this around. Now this is designed to be lifted out of the box using the bag, so I'm going to put it on the floor and do that. And yes, I never quite trust this. The plastic bag is strong enough to lift the printer out of the box, but we'll now just take it apart. As with most Epson printers, there is a lot of blue tape to be removed, which is shipping tape, holds everything in place when it's shipped. Epson have several large warehouses around the world where they have large stocks of blue tape that somebody ordered by mistake years ago, so they're gradually using it up. But we'll now prepare this for putting the ink in, starting up, and doing a start up for it. Right, just move some of this material. This printer's got a scanner on top, so I will have a look at the scanner, but I'm really looking at it as a printer. Obviously it's intended for more general purpose, home office type use than a normal dedicated printer, but it's the fact that we've got these large ink tanks that I'm looking at in particular, and seeing what sort of photo quality I'm going to be able to get from it. Now, recent testing of printers such as the Epson XP15000 suggests to me that I will get potentially good photo results from this, but we'll see. I'll be doing lots of testing. I'll try it on different media. The printer does support loading at the back for photo media up to A3 plus size, that's 13 inch by 19 inch, and it has a straight through print path for printing onto poster board. You can actually print onto poster board up to 2 meters long here, so it's over 6 foot. And the only slight problem is that nobody stocks 2 metre poster board at that size, but whatever, we'll see if we can find something to put through it. You will find a lot of bits of blue tape, packing materials and other stuff. I don't know what these are, but bright yellow, they're probably, I'm not going to throw them away just in case, but we have a lot of stuff here, blue tape attached. There we go, it's the output tray. This is similar to the XP15000 I reviewed recently. And it's the results from the XP15000 that give me confidence I will be able to produce some interesting looking prints with this. Now the inks go in here, but not yet. Let's push that in. Have a quick look at it because there's bound to be more tape round the back here somewhere, and yes, there we go, a bit on the paper feed. So I think that's all the ink levels here, rather than the usual digital levels, you actually see the amount of ink in the containers. So we'll have a look at that in a bit when I've got it set up. But I'm going to be looking at how this uses up ink, the refill system, how it all works in the main review. But this is just about setting it up, and nothing out of the ordinary so far. There is a large instruction sheet which I can look at now. And I see that the next thing is going to be to power it up. Now it has power at the back here. There is also Ethernet and USB. Don't connect any networking at the moment. We just connect up the power to it. I sometimes think it's somebody's job to tie these cable wraps up annoyingly tightly. But, one button to press, let's see what happens. Start up screen. It's a touch screen. I could point a phone at this. Now one of the features of this is what's called a smart screen, in that I can load some software onto my phone, and then all the functionality of this screen here is available on my phone. I'm not going to try that right now. I will look at it in due course, but I need my extra strong reading glasses on to be able to use a phone well, so this is not aimed at me. So we will go use no smart device, and we'll have to make use of what appears on the screen here, which we can tilt up, makes it a bit easier to see. Processing. See Start Here bundled or the website to complete it. Well, we have the Start Here sheet, and it tells me that the next thing to do is going to be to load some ink. Filling with ink, make sure not to squeeze the ink bottles. These are designed so that when you put them in place, gravity feeds the ink through and it takes care of the pressure equalization, so you don't have to squeeze the ink into the device. Proceed. Reminds me that I need to put the black ink into the black tank. Now there are two blacks on this. This is the Pigment black. This is primarily for printing documents, printing text. gives better text, better performance on plain paper. It is not, as far as I know, although we'll be having a look at this, used at all in photo printing. There is a photo black, cyan, yellow, magenta and grey ink for photo printing. This one is primarily for documents. Now just lift it up. There are little caps that go over each ink station. They unclick and take the ink. No problem there, just unscrews. The ink bottles are keyed with plastic tabs on them, physically keyed, so that you can't put the wrong ink bottle in the wrong hole here. Even so, if you did, you would still, if you tried it, you'd likely get a bit of wrong ink. So do be careful here in putting the right ink in the right bottle. So do that, turn it upside down. No, it doesn't come out, and we'll do that. And I have a look, and I can see the ink level, I can hear slight glugging noise, and the ink is going in there. This now looks full. It's darker, and I'm going to say the ink has been successfully loaded. Well, that was pretty easy. There's still some ink left in this, so do the bottle up. Next up, close that. We've got the photo black ink. This is where we go through the process. When you're tearing the seals on these, there is a little nick in the plastic which will give you a clean tear. Unscrew that. It doesn't go that way, it goes that way. So there is a way they go in, and you'll feel it. I can hear the ink glugging slightly, and level is increasing there. There is no real effort, you just put it in, it doesn't drip, doesn't do anything, just drop it in, and there goes the ink levels. I will find out just how these look when they get down, and whether you can reliably tell how low the ink levels are. We'll find that out during testing, but certainly it's an interesting system in that you can actually see the ink levels. You look at the capacity of these cartridges, 70 ml of ink. That's compared with typical small printer cartridges have 10, 12, 14 millilitres of ink, small amount of ink, so you've got quite a lot more ink in this. There is a maintenance cartridge here which you may need to replace at some point. It comes pre-installed, there's nothing to set up in it. Now once the inks are loaded into these tanks, the printer will go through a charging process where it takes ink in, loads up the ink lines, which are the flexible tubes which connect these tanks to the printhead, which is here, which goes back and forwards to print. That's the next stage, which will take a few minutes. I've got one more ink to put into it. Back on that one. Here's the grey ink. Now the grey ink is a diluted black, and it takes the place of having a light cyan and a light magenta ink that you find in some printers. It also allows a lighter black, grey, mixed with photo black to give you better grayscale images. We'll see, I'll be testing this in more detail, but the idea is that the grey ink gives you a better tonality in your prints, and maybe, we'll see, gives you good black and white. There we have the last one. And I take this out, set this up, and we'll fire it up. I've just taken the last bottle off here. We'll put that down, put the lid back down, proceed. It's stepping me through all the cartridges, which I have done. There we go. Press OK for 5 seconds. Make sure that colour inks are filled to the upper link. Select the Start button to start ink charging. Do not load paper until initialisation is complete. In the same way that you don't connect up any network connections, you don't do anything when you're setting up these printers. So presumably I could have done this by my phone, which just seems a lot of faffing about, but never mind. Initialising. This takes about 7 minutes. Well, after lots of whirring and clicking noises and general sort of agitation, and indeed about 7 minutes or so, it says initialisation is complete. That means ink is everywhere inside it. Some of the ink used in charging will have gone into the maintenance tank, and if I look here I can see that the levels on all the inks are slightly low. And that shows some of the ink that's been used in charging and in setup. I can now do the print adjustment stage. For print adjustment, I just need some plain A4 paper for this printer. I'll follow the instructions here. The adjustment, you can do it later if you want, if you're in a real hurry, but don't forget it. It does make a difference to printers like this. There are manufacturing tolerances, setup things may have shifted. The alignment is quite an important bit with any printer, so don't skip it. We'll go to adjust. And yes, there's another bit of blue tape that I've missed. In fact, several bits of blue tape that I've missed. There we go, there's A4 paper. Select option here, A4 plain paper. I'll go through all these settings and stuff when I do the actual review of what the various options are, and I'll find out how to use this bit properly, because this looks like the CD printer. So anyway, we're okay with that. The output tray comes out. I do like it when printers have bits that move and things like that. Yeah, it's whatever. Well, the nozzle check looks fine. No problem there. No missing bits. I'd really not expect it on a new printer. So we go there. Alignment. Six sheets of A4 size plain paper in cassette 2. I think we will do this later. Well, there the printer's set up now. It's initialized. The next bit I'll go over to my laptop and connect it up to our network and check that it works, and that's it. You've got a set up and working printer. Now the Epson software, you can go to the Epson website, and that will step you through the initial stages of clearing up the printer and taking the tape off and things. But I get through to a point here where I'm running Epson software, install Navi, that's come down, and I've downloaded this, and I can move on to doing a connection. Now the software is smart enough to check how your network is set up and various other things. It knows there's a brand new printer out there to find, and it's come up and told me that it's found the printer on the network and do I want to connect it to the network automatically. Now Previously I would have not necessarily done this, but having recently installed some new printers from Epson, I have a lot more confidence in this actually working. So yes, I will get it to do automatic. Setup in progress. The printer has asked me if I'd like to participate in new product design. Do I want to do this? Do I want to update the firmware? No, I'll do that later. Back to do I want to participate in their product usage data? Do I want my printer sending anonymized user data? I don't care how anonymized it is. I don't want devices sending info back to who knows where. Now I do trust Epson in this, but I'm still not going to do it. Meanwhile, at that point, the installation software has found various bits. It's offering to install some software, a printer driver, a scanner driver, the manuals, and all the various other bits and pieces, utilities that get installed. If some software is already on your computer, it won't over-install it, so you won't get an additional copy of stuff that you've already installed with another printer. So I'm just going to do that. It just needs downloads the printer driver, scanner driver, and it will set them up. The install software does a pretty good job of finding things, loads the driver, sets it up for you, and is now adding the device to the printer queue. Now I'll check that afterwards, but I'm being offered the opportunity to print a test page, and since there's still some paper in there, we'll do that. And there we have one test page. Yeah, it works, it's done, that's it installed. I still need to do the print alignment check, put some more paper in for that, and it is always worthwhile updating the firmware, because between when the printer was made and shipped and turning up here with a new printer, there's always a chance, and in fact it's almost certainly, there will be updates in firmware which weren't available during manufacturing. So don't skip over the firmware updates. They're useful particularly for new printers. They don't necessarily fix things, they just fine-tune stuff. They're fine-tuning of software that wasn't included at the time. Just go back here after us that, and it tells me that I need to update the firmware. It's spotted it and it's going to do it for me. Now, the software or firmware is being downloaded here to install. One thing about doing firmware updates, whether it's for cameras or for printers, is do not turn the power off during a firmware update. Printers may be okay, but it has in the past been a pretty good way of actually bricking a new printer or something to corrupt the firmware. It can be quite tricky to recover it. Now, I don't know how much better these are these days, but I'm not going to switch the power off just to try. It will automatically switch off, switch on as the process of updating the firmware, which will take a minute or two. The firmware update has happened, and we've got the details. I'll skip registering this to myself since this one happens to belong to Epson. And there we go, my product is ready to use. I will just have a quick last check that the printer driver has been installed correctly. The key bit I'm looking here on my Mac is just to make sure that the driver that's installed here doesn't say AirPrint in it. Because if you are installing a driver and you see AirPrint mentioned here, and this is on my computer, so laptop or my main computer, then you know something's gone wrong. But this looks fine, it looks like it's installed, everything is done. Options and supplies. supply levels matches up pretty well with what I see looking at the front panel. So there we go, it's done, it's ready to do some printing. Very simple printer to print and set up. There we go, setting up. It offers me various things I can go to, bits of software I can install things, but I'll cover that later. This is just only about setting up. Hope that's been of some use. I have a written version of this on the website as well, which will cover any additional details, any minor points that I need expanding. But this is just the basic process of unboxing, setting up. Here's my printer. Looks all right. Thanks.